Peace and love. What up, though? What it do? What's popping? What's cracking? What's happening in time 9, time 10, time 9, time 10 again. I'm getting it together. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna get into some real divine, love and peace for one another right quick. We gonna flow back a little bit so we can try to, change the energy. Cause we going nowhere, right? With what's going on. We bumping heads about things we shouldn't even be bumping heads about, right? We all have, some forms of childhood trauma, whether you had issues with Umi or Abu, and put it in English, with your mother or your father. You know what I'm saying? And many of us haven't dealt with this childhood trauma, and it's playing out, and it's not pretty, y'all. So understand where I'm coming from when I say the things that I say. I only, put these things out here to get us, to start healing and be able to unify. We never going to unify, you know what I'm saying? Sharing a bunch of satire, racist information and, trying to hold it over one another's head when this is not anything that comes from us. This is not a part of our culture. This is not a part of our tradition, whether we're talking about, in an ancient fashion or, modern. We got to, come together, y'all, period. So hold tight. I'll be right back.
YouTube, you fools try to limit me. Muting and deleting channels, thinking that's the end of me. Y'all are not on my level, smaller than a centipede. This is my purpose, TBT is a ministry. I do not tire, my God gives me energy. Chose by Messiah, you believe, come get with me. Married to a black queen, we got the illest chemistry. Founded the black tube, and now we making history. Black tube, 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 what? Black tube, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TheBlackTube.com. I'm a giant killer, son of an omniscient God who's realer. If this be the thriller in Manila, I'm Ali in his prime. It's showtime, go time, about to take what's mine. We are not with your agenda, we showing real life.
Sailing tonight. Anything that you want from me, you might have the line. I just messed that all up. Every single holiday will be kissed and loved away. That's what I'm talking about. Some 80s type love. Like, I don't know, I think we need this. Me again, I'm not aiming at nobody, you know what I'm saying, who not aiming at me, right? Or aiming at our foundation. And it has been severely damaged at this point by way of the mixture, again, of satire, information, and actual scholarship that, you know, that binds us all, right? We cannot, unfortunately, some of us have, came together in camaraderie based on some fake information, which what good can come out of that? Nothing comes out of that for us as a people, right? These are things that only benefit individual content creators. And I'm sure none of us who have made the moves that I have made, such as creating various notifications and putting them on record with within the federal, region, as well as their various subsidiaries, whether it be the state of, city of, county of. Those of you who rock with me have heard me express this multiple times, right? So if we have this big, gigantic enemy, which has positioned itself as the largest, wealthiest criminal cartel, nation state, country, however you want to label it, barring none, over everybody else, right? And the focus has turned away from that into us, wanting to express how much this celebrity or that celebrity is a homosexual, or they're a part of the Illuminati, and all of these other things. They lizards, and you know what I'm saying. Like, no, that wasn't what attracted me to any of this information, right? This was about us regaining our sovereignty, which is a word many of you have become afraid of because you've been misled by it based off of the various sovereign citizen movements, which has nothing to do with us. Now, keep in mind, just because someone who references themselves as being a sovereign citizen may use some of the same documents that we use, whether it's an affidavit, whether it's a tort claim, whether it was a motion to dismiss this, that, and the third, right? That doesn't make us the same because we don't have the same mission. Our missions are completely, uh, uh, you know, obverse. They're different. They're not the same. We have our purpose, and it's being ignored for entertainment. Like, I can be entertained by doing what I'm doing. I'm sitting here listening to the Isley Brothers, right? And the Temptations and things of that nature, right? This wasn't about entertainment, right? So, okay, you say, well, you're a content creator too. What makes you different than the rest? I'm expressing that to you based off of my actions and based off of who I aim at. I predominantly and almost solely aim at our adversaries and our enemies. The only time that I have to come out and aim at one of my own brothers and sisters is when I'm checking you. And by all right, as I've stated multiple times, I'm delegated to check your ass when you in the wrong, right? And you should appreciate that the same way that I've grown enough to be able to appreciate when somebody is trying to, we're not, making sure that I'm not being misled. And that's what I'm doing for y'all. I'm trying to make sure that you're not misled and you're not regurgitating neo-Nazi skinhead satire, because there's too much of that going on. Like, people are, it's not a matter of misinformation resurfacing it. When you get to the source of the misinformation, they've never stopped creating it. And y'all keep gobbling it up, and it's very disheartening for me. Especially, you know what I'm saying, when I see people that come from the same master teachers, if you will, or the same grassroots conscious community, if you will, as myself. So don't take the shit personal. Take time to be accountable, you know what I'm saying, for your wrongdoing, right? What's wrong with that? I can only respect that. But what I won't respect is somebody who is continuously regurgitating and promoting and supporting our adversaries. Very well. Let's go back. And this right here, I'm not supposed to be talking about this right here right now. I'm supposed to discuss this later on this evening, because this little pre-live is supposed to be about me giving y'all some good energy, right? Some good. Who know this song right here? You hear it? To treat my lady tender. by the car that she always been looking for. What happened to these kind of men? Anybody ask for much more? This is what I was raised on. I don't know about you. Now I like open the door, picking up the hanky off the floor. Treat her like a lady. Her cigarette if she smokes, even help her with her coat. Treat her like a lady. Even help her with her chair. Treat her like a lady. A bad son of a gun. He's her loving Don Juan. What happened to these kind of brothers? What's the comedian name? Curry Holcomb, big fat ugly motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Are you aligned yourself with that to go against your women? What kind of women have you been around? And again, even if you're a single man, first of all, you married niggas need to be quiet. You already have a woman. You chose the type of woman that you like. Again, it's men out here who like lashes and fake booties and whatever the fuck because they're paying for them. These men are purchasing fake asses and things like this and that for their women. So they're attracted to that, right? So the same way that man doesn't have a right to tell you, you know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be attracted to sisters with knowledge of self who wear locks in their hair. You don't have the right to tell another man what kind of woman he should be attracted to. That's what he's attracted to. And the same thing go for my sisters. You know what I'm saying? All women don't desire the same type of men the same way that, you know what I'm saying? All men don't desire the same kind of woman. We have to break this cycle, y'all. Because it's the reason that your babies is, and a lot of your women is LMNOT, Q22T, and whatever. See what I'm saying? Along with the fact that, you know, we have had a lot of pedo activity take place generation after generation without it being checked, right? These are the things that are really causing this shit. It's not what you blaming it on. You could blame it on the Democrats all you like. It's essentially not their fault, right? And the reason why is because you're talking about a de facto regime. Their regime is all about making the wealthy wealthier, right? And us participating in that in any way, shape, or form is asinine. I don't care who you voted for. I don't vote, right? So you say, since I don't vote, I don't have a dog in the fight. A lot of my dogs is in the fight, right? And in order for me not to necessarily influence them, but to, you know, give them some information. I'm not trying to guide nobody. You are all adults. You make your own choices and decisions based on what resonates with you. But if you never knew anything but a bunch of, you know, crap, you see, then essentially you're going to be influenced by that, or you're going to be, you know, against it. One or the other. I'd rather you be anti, you know, than be pro Trump, Biden, Kamala, Clinton, any of these people, because none of these people were put in place to assist you or aid you at all. That's my duty. My duty is to assist and aid us, not to mislead us, not to misguide us, right? So again, I'm listening to some good 80s music that talks about love and men loving women and women loving men. And I think we need that. I think that's what we need. We need to, you know what I'm saying? Get some of that energy. You know, many of us seen that movie Sinners, right? And you know, again, like just for example, if you were raised Islamic or you a Muslim at this very point in time, you know how they really feel about music, right? Those are the genes, right? What y'all call it? The the genes, the it's haram in some form based on what's going on with the Will Smith. Y'all try to turn it off. Okay, based on, you know, the angles or the angels, right? We bend in the angles of the light of light. You know what I'm saying? Making this music and things like this and that. But again, it's just a form of entertainment. Although I recognize the rhythms and the vibrations that are created and the energy that is created based off of it. That's why I'm listening to, I have to, you know what I'm saying, listen to my good 80s music sometime, you know what I'm saying, and deal with it. Deal with it. Like I've been giving praise and honors today to what I call the A's, the three greatest A's in the genre of soul music. And those A's are Peace Be Upon Her, Aretha Franklin, Anita Baker, and Angela Winbush. These aren't just women who can blow when they sing. These are women who write and compose most of their own music, and they also wrote and composed for other artists, right? Somebody like an Angela Winbush, again, she doesn't just sing. She didn't just write multiple songs for Stephanie Mills and Janet Jackson and other people. This woman will get on that keyboard and make you cry. This woman will pick up a bass guitar, a lead guitar, acoustic guitar, and strum it. You know what I'm talking about? Like she was George Benson in this piece. We got to know our history thoroughly, and we can't skip over. And again, these gender wars are about to just rip us in half, in half. And I fucking despise it because it's senseless. I told the Passport boys, right? Bruh, when you get to that other country and randomly just pick you a woman because you feel like she's more submissive than your own woman that comes from your own culture, what's gonna happen is what has happened is you've married a woman, right, that doesn't come from your culture. So guess what? You can't listen to Run DMC with her. You can't watch Harlem Nights with her. You can, but she's not gonna be able to relate to the shit, right? You can't listen to the Temptations and the Isley Brothers with her. You can, but she already has her own culture and her own traditions and her own music that she listens to, right? And that she loves. She already has her own foods that she loves that are not the same foods that you love, right? Just like she don't love the same music that you love because she's not of your culture. So that is a very bad decision. Being that most of these cats who refer to themselves as Passport Brothers, you know, they made a rational decision based off of the women whom they have interacted with. But being one man with all of these millions of single melanated women, you've only interacted with less than 1 or 2% of these single melanated women. And based off of 1 or 2% of the women that you've interacted with, you've made the decision that a woman from your own culture is not for you. Totally incompetent. That's just like these women who running around saying they don't need a man. You know what I'm saying? Or all men do this or all men. No, bitch. No, you shorten yourself. It's the men who you've interacted with, right? Everybody has had their heart broken before. You got to get over and get past that and learn to love again. And that's what that soul music from the 80s did. You know, it allowed you to heal, right? And know that this is not the end of the world. But these brothers, they got their heart broke so bad, they said, this is the end. I don't want to be with a melanated woman. Like, that makes no sense. And a lot of these cats, you know, like I said, have a lot of trauma with their own mothers, right? They dislike their own mothers, you know. Maybe their older sister used to smack the shit out of them or something. And now they, you know, I don't like those kind of women. You cannot like those type of women. But again, all women are not the same outside of nature, based on a nature and our what do you call it, our, you know, biological, you know, or whatnot. Yeah, we're the same in that fashion, but as far as our attitudes, our likes, our dislikes, our levels of education and things like this and that aren't the same. They just not the same. Now, unfortunately, the vast majority of our women are, you know, still up under the cloak of Christianity. But just because you're Islamic or you're a Hebrew Israelite don't make you no better, because those are two branches of the same, with three branches of the same tree, right? They're no different. All three of them are monotheistic, misogynistic, patriarchal ideologies. Say it with me. Monotheistic, misogynist, patriarchal ideologies. Why do I say that? Without me saying it, it's still true, no matter how you feel about it. But the reason I'm saying that is because you know, these ideologies have a father God without a mother God. And nowhere in nature does that make sense, right? So for me, none of that shit is beneficial to us. It has ripped us to shreds. And since we have lowered ourselves and accepted it, we ain't been able to get it together since. We have not been able to regain sovereignty on this land or regain our vast estates based off of those belief systems, right? We took on somebody else's culture and traditions, and we're trying to live it out, and our women are trying to uh, continue to perpetuate it onto our men, and our men are doing the same to our women, right? We've all invested in these theologies that put a woman second. We did, you did, I did too, until I learned better. And that's all I'm saying. Now, no matter how you feel about it, it's still the truth. It's very much true. You want to try to disprove me? Put the money up. Like I keep telling y'all, I'm not debating nobody for fucking free. That's over with. That'll never happen again. Has nothing to do with me being greedy or a money changer. The point of me saying or me making it known that I'm not debating anybody for free is because if I do it for free, how invested are you gonna be in it for free? Who's ever trying to step up to challenge me? You're not gonna be invested in it because you know what I'm saying? You're not willing to put nothing up except for talk. I'm just saying, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm hoping they ain't cut the live off, and try to give me a copyright strike or something like that, because it is good music. It's good, love one another music that I love. You know what I'm saying? And if you love hip hop, you love it. You love this music too, because hip hop wouldn't exist without it. There would be no hip hop. La 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 la. Hey, there'll never be, baby. La 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 la. Oh, la 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 la. That's what I'm talking about. We got to get back to that. I ain't trying to rock y'all to sleep right now, because later on I'm going to be a fireball. It ain't about to be none of this friendly stuff. I'm going to speak a whole lot more French later on this evening. So smoke on this. Consider, what I say, what I've said, and what I will continue to say. These things, peace, God. I'm only doing these things to bring us together, not to separate us. And I'm doing these things to make sure that we get this pseudo information out of our communities. Now, we dealt with pseudo information all of our lives, like Santa Claus. That shit ain't nothing new to you, right? And that is something else that was brought to us by way of the others, the colonist invaders, right? I'm not talking historically. Come again, because I know y'all gonna come at me with the Saint Nick and the Krampus, and you can't tell me shit that I don't know about certain things. I don't claim to know everything, right? But about some of these certain topics, like I keep telling y'all, I'm a lot older than I appear. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad. You can say I'm blessed or blissed. For that. I come with good genes. I eliminated chickens and cows and turkeys and lambs and pigs out of my diet in 1994. So again, as I said, I'm older than what I appear, and it is what it is. So if you ask me, sis, how old is you? Because people have done that. Like, once they find out, how much older I am than my younger sister, they like, yeah, how old is you? Or they ask my little sister. She like, hey, you better ask her. And what I say to you is, I'm 63, I'm 81, I'm 45, I'm 54. All that add up to 9. I'm the highest number. That's how old I am, right? Now, when I feel like it, you know what I'm saying? Or you meet people who, started kindergarten with me, you know what I'm saying? And you look at them and look at me, you wouldn't believe that they started school with me, because I look 15 or 20 years younger than them. That's a matter of me taking care of myself, right? So I don't know. We got any suggestions or questions? Because again, I'll be live later on, and we're gonna talk about the us dealing with the pseudo information. I don't forgot what the name of the build is. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. For real. That's something else you can depend on me to never do, is to lie to you or lie on one of my brothers or sisters. So if you hear me mention somebody's name and I said they did this or didn't do that, You can bet a rack on it, and I'll put a rack up with you. For real. I don't do that. No need to do that. For what? What am I gonna benefit? You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna benefit. If I was in this, specifically to try to gain some type of following, do you know how many years I've been in this movement? Many. I've had many opportunities. See, my delegation of authority orders came by way of the elders, right? Most of them elders have passed over. One being Chief Secor, who was one of the original dignitaries of Empire DW, Manya Washita, right? He's one of the first. See, so it's easy to research me, you know what I'm saying, as well as any documents, you know what I'm saying, that my appellation is on. For those of you who are Christians and don't know what an appellation is, my name, right? And I don't like using the word name because that, you know what I'm saying? You know what the word name means. It means Christians, you know what I'm saying? And we are the most ancient people on the planet. So you can't call me a Christian. The Christians are the people who you call white people. That is their nationality, right? That's how they were able to run around the earth with that doctrine of discovery, with the get down or lay down mentality, right? And murk many of our ancestors. So it is actually anti your lineage to call yourself Christians, my brothers and sisters who are, you know, consider themselves to be Christians. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to discredit you in any way at all. I'm just giving you the facts. Now, how you interpret it, is left up to you, right? But I implore you to vet the information, just like anybody else, the same way I did. In order for somebody to tell me this, that, and the third about Yahshua Bar Yusuf, or as I say too, Yahshua ben Miriam, right? I had to go in, I had to vet that information and make sure it was right and exact, which means I had to give me a Greek and Hebrew concordance while I was reading that Bible. And I'm not gonna front. A lot of Dwight York literature helped me be able to see some of these things, right? But as a person, I no longer support him. And that also has put a wedge in between me and a lot of my brothers and sisters, because a lot of them still support him, the man, and I do not. Why would I support a pedophile that gave a bunch of children herpes? These are facts. These are facts. Again, I don't lie. If I ever tell a lie, it would be to protect you, me, or some children, right? Against the police or against CPS or whatnot. But this right here, this is easy. They ain't no need to tell no lies to do this at all. Period. Appreciate you, God, for sure. It's, you know what I'm saying? Without y'all, it ain't on me. And at this point, again, when we got, brothers and sisters running somewhere else, to try to find someone to procreate with, that's sad. That's real sad. And it's sad that we support a lot of it too, by way of supporting people like Sidney Poitier, OJ, Bill Cosby, Kanye. We'll overlook what they doing, but then you want to talk to me about these too and few melanated women who are married, who married outside, who are in interracial relationships or interracial marriages or whatnot. But when you look at the statistics, I look at the statistics, right? Look at the statistics. And the statistics tell everything. Our men have always been more attracted to other women or so-called white women than we have ever been. We have never desired pink penis at a high rate, ever, 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 ever. And the marriage licenses show it, right? Like our men literally double, they marry outside of our, I don't want to use the word race. Certain words I don't like to say. That's why I do a lot of pausing. But at twice the amount, they marry outside, right? And they've been doing it. In the 80s, it was at a higher rate than that. Because again, your women have never been attracted like that to those others. We just have not. And it's proven. It just is what it is. And you will have to be blind not to see that. With all of these various celebrities and athletes and things like this and that, who we watch, them Jim Browns, right? OJ originally had a melanated wife and melanated children before he went and got him a Becky. See, he could dog the Becky, smack the shit out of her, you know what I'm saying? And she'll still be laying right there next to her. You're not going to keep doing no melanated woman like that. In most cases. In some cases, you know, like I said, we deal with a lot of trauma as melanated people, right? You know, we had we lost a tremendous amount of wealth during the 80s. Not to mention, we know about, you know, the red summers and the red lining, which still happens. The red lining still happens. We've become astute enough and warrior-like enough to stop the red summers. But they, you know, they've modified how they do the red summers, right? Perfect example is right here in Detroit, right? During the 2008 financial crisis, right? Many people, and y'all heard me mention this, and I'm gonna keep, it's the truth, so I'm gonna keep telling the truth. You can't expect me to be able to, you know, not repeat this, because this is information that we need. But during this time in 2008, oh God, so many people in the city of Detroit lost their homes due to not just mortgage foreclosure fraud, but to property tax. Not to just to mortgage foreclosure, but to property tax foreclosure. Because again, the history of Detroit, I'm gonna always talk about that too, because that's where I'm from, and this is what I know best when it comes to when we talk about various cities, right? Detroit was once the richest city in the world, or on the earth, right? Not just the richest city in North America. And this is the only city that I know of that for 30, 40 years, more than 40 years, didn't have not one white mayor. From 1974 up to 2014, we did not have a white mayor, right? And this is the city, the only city, you know what I'm saying, to have the most, up until 2008, granted, we had the most black homeowners in North America right here in Detroit. You know why? Because we took this city back. Starting in 1974, that wealth, this city being the wealthiest city is the city in the world, melanated people took advantage of that, and they started to open their own businesses. You understand? We had fully melanated city council, melanated mayor, melanated police officers, right? So a lot of the things that are taking place now and took place prior to that weren't happening, right? We had the most gangsters melanated mayor in the world. Peace be upon him. Coleman A. Young. Coleman A. Young did not allow other cities. If the police were chasing you and you made it to Detroit, they were not allowed to come into Detroit to capture you. All of that changed with Mayor Archer, who was a boule boy, right? He became the mayor here, I want to say in 1994. He was still a melanated man, but he was a boule boy. He changed that. He allowed the suburban cities to be able to come so many miles into the city if they were, you know, chasing somebody or looking for somebody, right? You couldn't do that when Mayor Young was the mayor here. Okay. Yeah, and Duggan said he not running no more. He running for and that's the white mayor. That's the only white mayor that Detroit has had in over 50 plus years. You get what I'm saying? We you know, this is a different city. This is why Dr. Claude Anderson, after the financial crisis in 2008, he was begging people to move to Detroit. Melanated people, that is, to move to Detroit or relocate back or go your ass back home. We talk about, I heard a brother, he did a video, I think it was a TikTok video, don't quote me on that, but he was talking about the city of Atlanta and how, you know, it sits on top of this granite and it's the energy grid. Well, that would be all of these cities, especially Detroit, being that we right here with the 5 Great Lakes, with the atomic lakes, where we have the best water in the world. So being that We are surrounded by the best water in the world. How did Flint happen? We right here with the best water in the world. How did Flint happen? Well, if you want to know the answer to that, you need to study, peace be upon her, Empress Verdiasi. Empress Verdiasi of the Washita taught us that poisoning the water was a cheap way to kill us off, right? And it is something that they have practiced over the years. And that's exactly what happened in Flint. How in the hell we right here with the best water in the world? We're surrounded by Lake Huron, Lake Orion, Lake Erie, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior. So that's 5. I just named all of them, right, y'all? Huron, Lake Orion, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Superior. Yeah, that will make 5, right? Did you know these lakes were formulated? I'm not saying our ancestors created the water, but the usage of the water, right? That was put there by your ancestors. So all of this belongs to us. You just need to be led back to it. And that's what I'm delegated to do. That's what I took an oath to do. And that's what I'll continue to do. So the live we doing later on this evening is the reevaluation of pseudo information. Again, tune in later on this evening, because the bill is going to be about the reevaluation of pseudo information. And it's a lot. It's not just the lie that Michelle Obama is a man. It's a whole lot of pseudo information that's being regurgitated. And it's responsible for the destruction of these various indigenous, aboriginal, autochthonous American movements. Y'all have ruined multiple American more movements with the fake information that you're regurgitating, because you have people who are new to this information tuning into you because you are giving them right knowledge when it comes to telling them about our lineage as a people, but you mixing it in with the neo-Nazi skinhead information that you found online that you did not vet. That type of information does not come from us. Again, it was the KK, the origins of calling a rich, successful, melanated woman a man or a male comes from the Ku Klux Klan. So for my brothers and sisters to be regurgitating that shit, you need your ass whooped. So I'm putting foot the ass in a verbal nature, right? Now, if you take your ass to Chicago and start running around talking that shit and somebody knock you the fuck out, that's not my fault. I'm trying to avoid that from happening to you. I'm trying to stop you. I'm stopped. Look at here. You know what I'm saying? It's a terrible look, and it is very embarrassing that someone who carries some of the noble titles like myself, such as a Ish or she or ill or bay, to be running around saying the stupid shit. It is embarrassing, and it's putting nails in the coffin of all of these movements one by one. And I won't allow that to happen. Before I allow that to happen, I will completely tune out. I will completely tune out. You won't see me anywhere. And I'm sure some of you content fake ass scholars, you know what I'm saying, that's strictly content creators, and this is how you eat. This is not how I eat. This is not how I eat. I'm saying. Not at all. So let me go back and talk about the wealth that was here in Detroit during the 80s, right? That wealth was stolen from us by way of the cocaine, the freebase, which y'all call crack. I'm talking 1980, 1981, 1982, and some of 1983, before the word crack was invented. It wasn't being called crack then. It was freebase cocaine. There were many, for example, some of our parents who were doing very well, owned various business and a lot of real estate throughout Detroit, and were living good lives, and were able to send some of their children off to college and things like this and that. And, you know, they gained other, you know, rich friends who may have been richer than them. And these friends of other nationalities were, you know, using cocaine, right? So when you start hanging out with these people, you know what I'm saying? In some cases, you may be influenced by them, and you start to participate in this, right? We have a different genetic makeup. When you're talking about freebase cocaine, and you're talking about utilizing the science, the chemistry of cooking that shit back down to its rawest form. And then you gonna smoke it? Do you know what that's gonna do to you? So that's responsible for, taking away a lot of the wealth that was not passed down. For an example, to me, it was some wealth that was supposed to be passed down to me that was passed down, you know what I'm saying, to my parents from my grandparents. And it didn't make it down to me due to substance abuse issues. These are things that I don't run from and that, I'm open to discuss. Whereas others, aren't. They, you know what I'm saying? And, that's your prerogative, right? That's, you know what I'm saying? I won't take that choice from you. But for me, this is like therapy, to be able to discuss it and talk about it, because although it was it was good and bad. It was good and bad because had I not experienced that, I may have fallen into it the way some of my friends did, right? I already knew. I've been knowing what cocaine is my whole life. Now, whether you want to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, again, that's your prerogative. For me, it ended up being a good thing because it stopped me from participating when I got around certain wealthy people who were sniffing the cocaine. You see what I'm saying? And influencing other hip hop artists to do the same. I wasn't one of those artists because I already, witnessed it firsthand. Take the silver spoon out of my mouth, so to speak, right? So we got a lot to discuss and get over. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this mama and daddy trauma that a lot of us haven't dealt with, that's trickled down into these various movements. It needs to be dealt with. I come from two parents who weren't raised by their biological mothers, because my mother's mother passed when she was 3 years old, and my father's biological mother passed on when he was an infant, when he was like 3 to 6 months old, right? So it's a certain kind of love that they never received that they weren't able to give to me, you see. And with me knowing that was never hidden, I always knew that my grandmother, both of my grandmothers that I knew as grandmothers were actually my parents' stepmothers, right? But as far as my maternal grandmother or step grandmother, and she didn't miss a beat loving me. There was you would have never known that wasn't my mother's biological mother. So I was fortunate, very fortunate. And many of us weren't. I just put it that way, right? So with that being said, again, my parents didn't know how. You know what I'm saying? They knew how to spoil me and buy me whatever. But some of the emotional support that I needed. Hoodies. Let me see. Let me look at some of these comments, y'all. What it say? Hi, Alhambra. I remember you in my restaurant asking for orders for some young guy. What's the name of the restaurant? And didn't pay? What the fuck out of here? And soup the chicken. Like, all right, moderator, we can get. I don't know who the fuck this. I don't eat chicken. For sure. I don't even eat chicken. I ain't had no chicken since August of 1994. So you got the wrong person. And 2 orders of boost satin. Yeah, this somebody that's just a troll. Obviously, it's a troll. So whatever, guy. Have fun. Like the video while you trolling and shit. Like and share the video. We don't necessarily care for your comments or whatnot, but like and share the video. For sure. For sure. But, hey, this is bound to happen. The more, we begin to blow, it's going to be a whole lot of trolls or whatever. But, like, I don't. Yeah, do a super chat, motherfucker. While you on here talk crazy. What do you say now? And noodles. Okay. All right. We know I can start speaking French real good. I've been doing good. I ain't even doing a bunch of cussing and profanity too much. So he gonna make the Detroit in me come out. But that's it. I was trying to get us back, on another vibration right quick by listening to some of these songs. And I was talking about the 3 big A's, which is Aretha Franklin, Anita Baker, and Angela Winbush, who, are, I don't use the word mentor either, y'all. And I've discussed why I don't use the word mentor. Do you know what a mentor is, right? What is a mentor? Right. The mentors, you've seen the statues of the Greek and the Romans, and they're mentoring little boys. I'm not gonna say what positions they had the little boys, but that's where the word mentor originates. So I don't use that word, unless that's what I'm talking about. Unless I'm talking about a pedophile. When I'm talking about a pedophile, then I'll use the word mentor. So maybe that should be my replacement word from now on, y'all. My teacher, Bobby Ill. You know what I'm saying? Man, I wish we all had Bobby. And I'm going to talk about Bobby. Then I'm going to get out of here and we're going to come back at 10. I'm going to talk about Bobby for a minute. Let me tell you about my teacher, right? My teacher, Bobby Ill, every darn near everything that you hear me speak about, he taught me, right? So in the city of Detroit during 2005, 2006, based off people being students of Bobby Ill, they began to go to the temples, to the more science temples of America, to become members and try to get their nationality cards that way. Bobby didn't do paperwork. Bobby done none of that. All Bobby did was teach, right? That's what Bobby did. And a lot of you need to just teach and stop selling people documents and shit, because unless we're all doing it, if we're not all doing it, the effects have always been minimal, very minimal, unless, again, they're dealing with somebody like myself, right? And others. And not to say that, they are always going to honor law when they interact with me. So let's get back to Bobby, right? As his students began to go to the Moorish Science Temples of America here in Detroit, specifically Temple number 25, where the Grand Governor for Michigan out of the Moorish Science Temple of America is stationed, they would go there and, ask questions about tax exemption and things like this and that. And the Grand Governor, Fuqua Bey, that's his name, he would tell them, nah. That information that y'all getting is not right and exact. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. And he started to get so many of Bobby Ill's students to the point to where he felt the need to go and go on public television here in Detroit and buy some time on the public televisions. Shout out to R.J. Watkins. Salute you, Elder, and R.J. Jr. Wow. My memory kind of picking up a little bit. So long story short, what ended up happening is the Grand Governor, Fuqua Bey, peace to you, God, he went on a public television and started dragging us. Like, hey, don't listen to them people talking about they Moors and talking about you don't need no driver's license and all of that. We don't do that here. So don't come here trying to get a nationality card to run out to do any of this shit. We don't support that anti-government sovereign citizen shit. Like, he threw disses at my teacher, majorly, right? So this is 2006 to be 2006. I'm on the money right there with that, right? Now, fast forward. What ended up happening is Fuqua Bey, I don't know what type of, if it was legal issues or anything that he had that made him put his nose in some books and study, you know what I'm saying, for him to come to the conclusion that Bobby Ill and his students was correct, right? So before Bobby passed over, Fuqua Bey brought his children to Bobby Ill's dojo to get trained in martial arts by Bobby Ill's children. Can I get a round of applause for that? This is what we supposed to be doing. Why we can't do that? Why we can't be amicable? Why we can't be mature? Again, these were two men that did not rock with each other. But in the end, being that the Grand Governor went out and vetted Bobby's information, he found out it was factual, right? No different than the various Christians who would come to the dojo, but they wouldn't even come in. Excuse me, I've told this story before. I witnessed this with my own two eyes. I'm actually outside of the dojo while everybody else is inside getting them lessons. And some elders pulled up, right? They get out their car and they said, young lady, could you go get the guy, Bobby Ill? We just want to talk to him. I was like, all right, I'll go get my teacher. He comes outside. You know what they did? Gave Bobby a rack like this. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars it was, but they gave him the money. They said they did not want to come inside. We're Christians, but A lot of what we and another thing, Bobby was on a and peace be upon him, Ron March show, which was a public television show here in Detroit. And this is how a lot of people from different ideologies got hip to Bobby and started coming to Bobby, right? But again, these elders, they were old enough to be my grandparents, if not my great grandparents, right? Came to pay homage to my teacher. They were strictly Christian. Just imagine if you 80 something years old and you've been Christian all your life, in order for you to even want to pay homage to somebody who is more Islamic, because I won't say, even though my teacher had an Islamic burial, and that's because they paid for it, and not just because of that. It's because once upon a time he was a Muslim. Once upon a time, like me, he was a Hebrew Israelite. Once upon a time, he was a part of the Ansar Allah community up under Dwight York. You see what I'm saying? He went through these various chambers of knowledge, and he didn't trap himself in them. The same way I learned from him not to do that. That stunts your growth. That takes your ability away for you to be able to point at the finger at other people who are way more advanced than you when it comes to these various ideologies. You know what I'm saying? Schools of thoughts, if you will. And this is the other thing. A lot of people use that word pseudo, and really it's not a pseudo in a lot of cases. It's a you don't know. So, you know what I'm saying? Being that you don't know it, you call it pseudo because, that's not, you don't subscribe to it because you don't know it. Now, if you can prove it wrong, that's a whole different thing, right? But for you just to call something pseudo based on the fact that I ain't never heard of that, it's a lot of shit you haven't heard of, a lot of shit you will never see in your lifetime, right? But it don't mean it don't exist. I'm just saying, similar things happened to me too. When I had the Indigenous People Rights Office at 2727 2nd Avenue, I had people who were from different belief systems who would pop through and drop me $200, $300, $400, $500 like it was nothing. You see, based off of, it wasn't so much based off of them seeing lectures and stuff that I did, but it was based off of other elders telling them about me. The elders is who love me and hold me up. Most of these people, you know what I'm saying, brothers and sisters that are my age, they don't give a fuck about me and mine, and that's fine. It just shows who they are, because all the work that I have put in has been beneficial to us as a people. I haven't, you know what I'm saying? It's been nothing selfish about anything that I've come out here and said. Now, I may do a lot of bragging about my city and sometimes about my own self. It just is what it is. But it's not to make anybody else feel, lesser than or insufficient. I'll be trying to make different points at different times, to give you a vision of where I come from and what I've been through, to show how I'm different than others, because I'm different than others, pretty much. Like I said, I come from a super black city, super, 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 super black. And I could say black because I'm talking to us. I don't use the word black when I'm dealing with the federal, state, or local government, right? I know better. But when we building, don't get your panties in a bunch because I use the word black. I come from the blackest city in the Americas, right here in the Dey-Twah. This is the blackest city in America. We wasn't raised in our city. It was just all black. It wasn't, people from the various Caribbean islands. So we didn't have their influence like my brothers and sisters in New York had. You know what I'm saying? It was just all black. We different, very different, right? And that's why Detroit is so well respected when you go to other cities. You know what I'm saying? Those who know, ask your grandparents. That's what you do. Ask your I love hearing older people from other cities talk about Detroit. They make me cry. That's how beautiful it get. It's real, 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 real talk. I remember long, long, long time ago, I was working at what do you call them places when you call people and beg for money, donations and shit for cancer and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, the phone automatically dials numbers to people or whatever. And I worked afternoons, so like late night shifts. So most of my calls would be going to like the West Coast, California, and things like that. So one time a call went through and the older brother answered the phone. And, I'm doing my little pitch. And he ain't feeling it. And he say, where you calling me from? I said, I'm in Detroit. He go, you from Detroit? Blah 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 blah. I love Detroit. I love Detroit. He just sent $100 like it was nothing. But before then, he wasn't trying to hear nothing about no cancer patients and all of that and donate. He wasn't rocking with that at all. But the minute I said I was from Detroit, he cut the check. So my experience is different. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, I have a minimal amount of biases, right? And I know my people, and I love my people, and that's just what it is. No more, no less. I'm not trying to, throw darts at my own people. Like I said, just don't start throwing no darts at me while I'm throwing darts at the adversaries. Because at that point, you are helping the enemies defeat your own sister. And for that, you deserve foot to ass. And again, gloves is off. No mercy, but that's going to happen at 10 o'clock, y'all. So I'm about this piece for right now. Y'all stay beautiful and stay loving one another. Peace.